We see a wild rabbit running toward our protagonist, but it is quickly taken out and a stone is dropped by the monster. Two more rabbits charge at him, but once again they are easily sliced in half. He comments that he isn't as out of shape as he thought, and that maybe he can do well as a swordsman. A trail of magic stones is left behind. Soon after, 5 goblins appear, and he thinks it's time to test out support magic. He uses a spell that increases strength, and it's explained that support magic can strengthen people or their equipment and can be cast either on party members or on the caster themselves. The goblins charge at the protagonist, but he cuts them all down with a single strike. More goblins come his way, and the story repeats itself, with him taking them all out with a single attack. The last goblin tries to run away but is also eliminated. The protagonist explains that the weakness of support magic is its duration, and at that moment, his spell wears off. Soon after, another 5 goblins appear. He activates support magic once again and continues to take them out. It's explained that each individual has a different duration for the magic, and in his case, it lasts 3 minutes. Enchanters who use support magic are always racing against time. Going back to the past, we see our protagonist being kicked out of the hero's party. He asks the hero, named Oliver, if this is some kind of joke, but Oliver denies it. Orhun says that they are childhood friends. Oliver comments that, since they're from the same village, he gave him several chances, but from now on, he won't be able to keep up with the group's pace. Anneli says to just kick him out already, and Derek comments that he's just a burden. Oliver states that Orhun simply isn't strong enough, and because of that, he's out of the group. Orhun explains that his group and Oliver's, formed 8 years ago, reached rank S in just a few years, and were the first to reach the 94th floor of the Southern Great Dungeon. For these reasons, people started calling them the Heroes Party. He comments that maybe he's not strong enough, but that the same goes for all of them. Oliver interrupts him and says that they didn't understand how important it was to have an enchanter capable of using support magic, but after seeing other rank S groups in joint raids, they realized how amazing they were and that Orhun's support magic is very weak. Orhun counters by saying that his support magic is weak because he is a swordsman, and for that reason, he created his own original magic. Derek tells him to shut up, saying that he changed classes because Oliver was better with the blade. Anneli adds that Orhun isn't better than Oliver with a sword and also isn't a good sorcerer. Orhun tries to defend himself by saying that he switched because the group needed an enchanter and he was the one most suited for it. Besides that, he invented his own style of magic, and thanks to that, they were able to reach deeper levels of the dungeon. Oliver interrupts him again, saying they've already found a replacement enchanter. The short girl comments that they're the hero's party and need to move forward, and that they couldn't do that with him. Orhun says that if there's no place for him, he'll go do something else, and leaves the room. Anneli comments that he can use both sword and magic, but only up to rank A at best. Back to the present day, we see the protagonist saying that he will become an adventurer capable of using both magic and sword at the same time, and that no one will ever call him useless again. He registers his adventurer card at the teleportation crystal, which allows him to start from the 7th floor next time. Suddenly, 4 adventurers come running desperately toward the crystal. One of them comments that this shouldn't have happened, while the leader says there was nothing they could do since they couldn't handle so many orcs. Another one comments that it was wrong to leave the girl behind, but the leader replies that if they had stayed, they all would have been wiped out and that he made the right decision since the girl had only joined the group that day and he needed to prioritize the lives of his older friends. Orhun thinks that he shouldn't get involved in this, since she simply had bad luck joining them. But he knows how much it hurts to be abandoned. Then, he turns to the leader and asks if they left a girl to die. They ask who he is, and Orhun simply says that they abandoned the girl and are now making excuses instead of saving her. The blonde-haired adventurer says that even if he had stayed, he wouldn't have been able to do anything and then charges at Orhun. Orhun knocks him to the ground and says that since he's useless just lying there, he wants to know where the girl is because he's going to save her. Then we see the girl in a dead-end spot, surrounded by orcs, begging them to stay away from her. She casts a barrier spell, but she knows she won't be able to maintain it with so many orcs attacking at once. She calls out for her sister, and at that moment, the barrier breaks. However, Orhun arrives just in time, casting a wind spell. He runs toward the orcs, blocks one of their attacks, and casts a support spell on himself. The girl is shocked to see him using support magic, and right after he cuts an orc in half. She can't figure out whether he's a swordsman or an enchanter. Orhun casts another support spell on his sword and continues slicing the orcs in half. With a sword technique, he cuts down several orcs at once, leaving the girl shocked at how strong he is. Shortly after, all the orcs are eliminated. Orhun asks if she is okay. She collapses to the ground, relieved to be alive, and starts to cry. Now outside, she thanks him and introduces herself as Sophia Claudel. Orhun recognizes the surname Claudel and notices the cloak she is wearing. He introduces himself as Orhun, and Sophia comments that it's a wonderful name, asking if he would like to have dinner with her as a way to thank him. Orhun replies that he didn't save her expecting anything in return, but she insists and he ends up accepting. When he arrives at the place, he notices that the restaurant bears the same crest he saw on her cloak and clearly understands that she belongs to the Night Sky Silver Rabbits, one of the largest guilds in the Kingdom of Noritand. Inside the restaurant, Sophia meets her sister, who gets annoyed when she sees Orhun near her, saying it's too soon for her to have a boyfriend. When she realizes who he is, she comments that it's been a long time since she last called his name, Selma Claudel. Sophia asks if they know each other, and Orhun replies that they do, since Selma is the leader of an S-rank party of the Silver Rabbits and the strongest enchanter on the continent. He explains that it was she who made enchanters famous, creating the idea that each party member has different roles: attackers to take down enemies, defenders to protect the group, and supporters in the rear. This completely changed the way adventurers think about exploring dungeons. He comments that, in the heroes group, it was no different, and for that reason, he ended up becoming an enchanter. Orhun says that the reason they called him useless was because they compared him to Selma inside the dungeon. He states that, just by looking at Sophia, he imagined they were from the same clan, but he didn't think they were sisters. Selma then asks why he is going after her 14-year-old sister. Orhun replies that she got it all wrong, as he really was going to have dinner with Sophia, but with pure intentions. Selma retorts, asking if he means that her sister isn't good enough for him. Sophia intervenes, asking Selma not to be rude to the person who saved her life. Selma asks if Sophia went to the dungeon alone, and she confirms. Selma says that they were going to the Great Dungeon the day after tomorrow, and Orhun realizes that Sophia had been exploring in secret from the clan. Selma comments that the important thing is that she's okay, and that from now on, she shouldn't go out alone. Sophia agrees. Selma thanks Orhun for saving her sister, and apologizes for having been rude. She mentions that she hasn't seen him since the attack, and Sophia asks if they know each other. Orhun says they met during last month's attack. Selma explains that they are both sorcerers, so they were together, and that he helped a lot. Sophia comments that it seems like they've known each other for a long time. Selma asks if Sophia doesn't know Orhun, and she wonders if he's famous. Selma replies that he used to be part of the heroes group, which leaves Sophia desperate. Orhun tells her not to be nervous, especially since he's no longer part of the group. Selma wonders why they let someone so exceptional leave, and Orhun replies that they reached an agreement and it was better for both sides. Selma asks if he's free at the moment, and Orhun confirms. But before she can ask anything else, he says he doesn't want to join any group right now. Selma explains that he misunderstood, and says she has the perfect job for him: to accompany them on the teaching expedition the next day. Orhun asks what that is, and Selma explains that it's meant to train new recruits. He wonders why she wants him to go along, and Selma explains that a rank A group will lead the expedition, which will last 3 days and go up to the 50th floor. Orhun comments that it would take rookies 6 months to cover that distance and that it's a crazy schedule. Selma admits that it really is crazy, but they'll take the shortest route because the sponsors are insisting. Orhun comments that it seems like the Silver Rabbits are in a tough spot, but the plan is so risky that she should have turned down the sponsors. He realizes that this way, the new recruits, who wouldn't stand a chance against a floor boss on their own, could explore deeper floors, strengthening the clan as a whole. Selma is shocked to realize that he understood everything with just a few pieces of information and notes that he's smarter than she thought. It's explained that, in dungeons, you have to defeat floor bosses that appear every 10 floors in order to advance. Normally, rookies get injured or die in these battles, but if a veteran adventurer defeats the boss, the rookies can register their crystals and move on to the next floor. For this reason, Selma wants Orhun to go with them. Orhun comments that it seems like an important mission for the Silver Rabbits and wonders if it's really okay for an outsider to accompany them. Selma then takes his hand and says that she respects him. Orhun is shocked by the revelation, since she is the strongest enchanter in the kingdom, while he was just expelled from the heroes party for being considered weak. He says he's happy with the invitation, but that he already has other plans. Sophia then comments that she will also be joining the expedition and that she would really like him to go with her. Orhun asks for some time to think and makes it clear that now he is not an enchanter, but a swordsman. Selma is surprised. Orhun says that she respects him as an enchanter, but if he joins the expedition, it will be as a swordsman. Selma, still surprised, agrees, thinking that if something goes wrong, he can always return to the role of enchanter. She says that if he accepts, he should show up at the Silver Rabbits HQ the next morning. Later, Orhun goes to an establishment and has tea with the owner. The man comments that the shop is doing well and thanks Orhun for promoting it after becoming a great adventurer. Orhun apologizes to the old man and says that he is no longer part of the heroes party. The owner replies that it doesn't matter because he is grateful to Orhun and always will be. He gets emotional upon hearing this. The old man says he knows how hard Orhun worked to get where he is, and that he's sure Orhun's future will be bright, assuring him that he'll always be by his side. The next day, Orhun goes to the Silver Rabbit's base, where a man introduces himself as Vince Briars, the leader of the Silver Rabbits of the Night Sky, mentioning that he has heard a lot about him. Orhun introduces himself and says it's an honor to meet such a famous clan leader. Vince says he heard that Orhun left the heroes group. Orhun asks for more details about the teaching expedition. Selma then starts to speak, mentioning that they will leave from the first floor and go up to the 51st floor of the Great Southern Labyrinth, and that this will take 3 days. They will take a break on the 21st floor on the first day, on the 36th on the second day, and on the third day, they will finish the expedition. We see a flashback of Vince receiving the news that Orhun left the heroes group and saying that this is a great loss for the heroes group and that, without him, they certainly won't be as strong anymore. Selma agrees with him, since Orhun's support magic elevated the group to another level. She explains that Orhun's magic is less powerful than average, but the speed at which he casts spells is 4 times faster than hers. Not to mention that he uses several original spells, and his ability to analyze, predict the situation, and provide magical support at the right moment is insane. Without him, the group will be much weaker, and now the Silver Rabbits should return to the top. Vince doesn't understand why the heroes group got rid of him, and Selma comments that enchanters usually don't get the credit they deserve. Returning to the conversation, Orhun confirms that there will be 10 groups of rookies and 5 escorts, including Selma and himself, and that the rookies will take turns handling the monsters, while if anything gets out of control, the escorts should step in. Selma confirms and asks if he has any other questions. Orhun says he has just one more question, and asks why only 5 escorts are going on this mission. Because if the absurd schedule is really necessary, it would make more sense to minimize the risk by bringing several rank A groups to support the rookies. Selma, a bit uncomfortable, says that their real goal is to get the rookies to the 51st floor, but that going through some difficulties will help them mature. Orhun realizes that she's lying and that there must be another reason, but they probably haven't told someone from outside like him. Even so, he accepts the mission. Vince says his payment will be 2 gold coins up front, and another 10 if the mission is successful, which surprises him, as it seems like an excessive payment, enough to cover a year's expenses. Selma comments that Orhun is worth that price and that it will be great to work with him. The next day, Orhun arrives at the entrance to the dungeon and sees some novices outside. Soon after, Selma and Sophia arrive at the dungeon entrance, and Orhun notices that her clothes are different from the day they met. He asks if it's the novice uniform and says it looks really good on her. Sophia thanks him, blushing, and Selma panics, saying that he really knows how to compliment a lady and asks if he has a girlfriend or if he's a womanizer. Orhun quickly denies it, saying that there were women in the heroes' party, and because of that, he learned how to talk to them. Selma remembers that the heroes' party all lived together in a mansion, and Sophia asks where he's living now. Orhun says he's staying at an inn while looking for a permanent place. Once again, Selma panics, asking why Sophia wants to know that, and if she plans to visit him, which Sophia immediately denies, saying she's just curious. Returning to the main topic, Selma asks why Orhun is so far from the newcomers, and he says that, since he's an outsider, he was afraid of making them even more anxious. Selma says she wants Orhun's help to help them relax and heads toward the newcomers, telling Sophia to join her group. She greets the other 3 companions and introduces Orhun to them, assuring them that he is strong. Orhun introduces himself as a frontline attacker. Anthem introduces himself as a defender. Bernard, also as a defender. And Kathy, as a healer. Orhun realizes that it's a well-balanced group, but that if he hadn't shown up, someone would have had to work twice as hard to fill the role of attacker. He also feels that something is off about this plan. In another flashback, we see Vince saying that he understands how Selma feels about losing her trump card, but that he can't put Orhun in the first division, since he's a charmer like her, and the group wouldn't be balanced. Selma remembers that they haven't made any progress in a year, and that they can't recover from what they've lost. That's why he called Orhun, and out of nowhere, Orhun volunteered to go as a swordsman. If he can manage to work as the front line, maybe they can go back to being what they once were. Snapping out of her thoughts, Selma says she's counting on the 3 of them in the coming days, and goes to greet the newcomers, announcing that the great expedition will begin, heading to the 51st floor. She asks if they're afraid to go so deep right from the start, but tells them not to worry, because she brought a powerful helper. If anything happens, he'll be able to handle it. She then introduces Orhun to everyone, saying that he has already reached the 94th floor, a place not even the Silver Rabbits have reached, that he was a member of the heroes' party, and knows the labyrinth better than anyone. All the newcomers are fascinated to find out that he is a hero, and the group's morale rises considerably. Selma then asks the escorts to do the final check, and Orhun panics since she put him on such a high pedestal. However, Selma says that he really did make it to the 94th floor, and that she only did this so the newcomers could relax a little, since entering the labyrinth is not a good idea when you're nervous. Orhun is forced to agree with her and hopes he won't have any headaches. She asks him to accompany Team 10 since they are the most promising newcomers, and if they can work as a group, they'll make it to the intermediate floors. Orhun thinks that she shouldn't trust the best newcomers to an outsider. Already in front of Team 10, he introduces himself and says he will be accompanying them for 3 days. He asks if anyone in the group is late, and the blonde confirms that everyone is present. Orhun finds it strange that a group has only 3 people, since the fewer the members, the more dangerous it can be, especially for newcomers. The blonde explains that the group only has 3 people because no one else can keep up with their pace. Orhun is concerned about his attitude and asks everyone to introduce themselves. The blonde introduces himself as the leader of Team 10, Logan, an enchanter who will one day surpass Selma. Right after, Caroline introduces herself as the defender. Orhun asks if she will put on her equipment once they're inside the dungeon, since she's not equipped. Caroline replies that she's a defender who doesn't use a shield or armor. Orhun asks if she's the type who dodges instead of blocking, and Caroline confirms, saying she doesn't want monsters to touch her. She wants to kill as many as possible. That's why she chose to be a defender, so she could get as close to the monsters as possible. It's explained that a defender who dodges instead of blocking uses speed to avoid attacks. Orhun comments that it's hard to be an evasive defender without combat experience and asks if anyone in the clan opposed it. Logan confirms, but says she ignored everyone. Caroline retorts, saying that Logan doesn't listen to the teachers either. The two start arguing, but are interrupted by Sophia, and Orhun realizes he's been put in a problematic group. He asks the next person to introduce herself, and Sophia says she's a backline attacker. Even though she only says normal things, Orhun feels at ease. Inside the dungeon, the expedition begins. Orhun notices that, despite the chaos outside, as soon as they enter the dungeon, everyone goes quiet. Caroline asks why a member of the heroes group is on the expedition and questions whether he doesn't see their clan as a rival. Orhun replies that he's no longer part of the heroes group, which surprises Caroline, since it's a group admired by everyone. Orhun says that's none of her business. Caroline asks if he knows Sophia. Orhun confirms and asks the reason for the question. Caroline says it's nothing special, just that Sophia mentioned someone amazing would be coming with them, and wonders if that someone is Orhun. Sophia confirms, saying that Orhun saved her life. Caroline tells Sophia to relax, since they have a hero with them. Orhun wonders if she's just saying that to calm Sophia down. 2 wolves try to attack Orhun from behind, but fall into magical traps. Orhun realizes that the traps are working very well, and that, since they don't have much time, this method is ideal to avoid unnecessary fights with enemies that appear from behind. In the blink of an eye, they reach the 20th floor. Orhun comments that he has closely observed the way they fight, and that, if they keep it up, they won't have any trouble completing the expedition. He used to think Logan was just an arrogant rookie, but now realizes that he's very skilled as an enchanter, and that, if he can endure longer battles, he'll easily be able to join a rank A group. The only problem is that Logan doesn't know how to give orders, which is crucial for an enchanter. But Orhun believes that, with time, he'll get used to it. As for Caroline, she's extremely fast, so being an evasive defender isn't a problem for her. However, there are 2 concerning points. The first is that she attacks monsters immediately upon seeing them, and the second is that she only uses 2 daggers as weapons, which could reduce the group's offensive power. Finally, there's Sophia. She's not as impressive as the other 2, but she's already stronger than an average rookie. However, she's a bit passive, although Orhun believes that will change once she gains more confidence in the group. He feels excited to watch her development. Orhun and the other supervisors defeat the boss of the 20th floor. Selma asks all the rookies to register their cards on the crystal and then rest, since they've achieved the day's goal. Elsewhere, Selma asks Orhun what he thought about being an escort. He replies that Team 10 has a lot of potential, but their teamwork is weak, and he was especially concerned about Caroline. Selma, a bit awkwardly, says that she's already improved a lot compared to how she used to be, which ends up worrying Orhun even more. They say goodbye. The next day, Orhun picks up the newspaper and is surprised to see that the heroes group has announced a new member, with the news splashed across the front page. Now, everyone will know that he was kicked out of the group. He thinks that if any newcomer from the expedition reads the newspaper, it could affect their opinion of him. But dwelling on it won't help, so he heads to the meeting point. On the way, a girl runs after him, and Orhun realizes it's Luna. He remembers that, even when everyone else in the heroes group started treating him badly, Luna continued to treat him the same as always. When he was expelled, she was away, running errands for her family. Luna approaches and asks him to return to the group, saying that they need his strength. Orhun asks if that's really what everyone wants because after the article he saw in the newspaper, he can't imagine that it is. Luna replies that she hasn't seen the article and that this is her own opinion, and she will convince the others. Orhun realizes that she is serious, but feels that it's too late. He refuses the request, saying that he can't come back because of the article and that he has no desire to return to the group. Luna apologizes for not having read the newspaper, holds his hand, and reminds him of the promise they made to finish the Great Labyrinth together. Orhun says that the promise was made by him, Luna, and Oliver, but it was Oliver who expelled him from the group. That's why this promise will never be fulfilled. Then, he leaves. As he walks away, Orhun thinks that he also wished the three of them could have kept the promise together, but he understands that there's no turning back. Everything ended that day. So, as Orhun was walking, he had already anticipated that the issue with the article would happen, but he admits that it caught him at a very bad moment. Now, as the instructor of the newcomers, he wonders if they will still continue to trust him after reading that news. That's when we hear the newcomers commenting on the matter. Logan is only thinking about what Orhun told them yesterday, that he had left the group of his own accord. However, if he was actually expelled, that's something completely different. At that moment, Orhun arrives, greeting everyone. Everyone greets him as usual, except for Logan. Orhun comments that the newcomers seem a bit different today, and assumes it's normal for them to be confused. After all, Selma praised him a lot, and now they've read the newspaper. At that moment, Selma and the others arrive. She apologizes to him for not being aware of what had happened. Orhun says she doesn't need to apologize, and that she can't let herself get upset when they still need to go exploring. Even so, Selma feels bad for having used Orhun as an example to inspire the newcomers, admitting that she should have been more careful. In any case, for Orhun, it's all right. He also apologizes for having put her in that uncomfortable situation. He says that he will support her during the exploration and asks her to keep her composure. The same goes for the rest of them. At that moment, someone asks if it's true that they reached the 94th floor. Orhun confirms, and then they comment that, even so, they are still impressed. Besides that, his performance yesterday was flawless, and they hope he continues the same way today. After that, Orhun goes to talk to his prodigies. Caroline greets him very naturally, and Logan at least tries to do the same. Orhun asks if they know about the newspaper. To Sophia, that article is fake, and Caroline doesn't give it much importance. However, Logan asks if it's true. Orhun replies that almost all of it is true, that he is not the hero they expected, and blames himself for having kept it a secret. Logan still has doubts about him, but Sophia knows that Orhun is very strong. She and everyone else saw how he defeated dozens of orcs in an instant. For her, Orhun doesn't lack strength. Orhun thanks her, and using her words mentions that he has enough level to take them up to the 51st floor. And although he is no longer one of the heroes, he swears as Orjondura, a simple explorer, that he will protect them no matter what it takes. That's why he wants them to trust him like they did yesterday. The girls support him, but Logan feels a bit foolish for having gotten so excited the day before. Now, already on the 21st floor, they need to reach the 35th floor. The difference is that, this time, the leaders won't give any instructions until they reach the 31st floor, the first of the intermediate floors. Caroline defending and Sophia burning the enemies. Orhun praises them, and is also happy that they still trust him. But Logan remains distant. Thus, little by little, they reach the 31st floor. From here on, Orhun stays alert to start giving instructions. At that moment, he stops them, warning that he has detected monsters ahead. Then we see several goblins appearing. Orhun orders Caroline to distract them, and she moves forward to fight in close combat. Meanwhile, Sophia takes care of the orcs coming from behind. Orhun tells Logan to use his support magic. However, even before he finishes the order, Logan steps forward and grants an agility boost. Although Orhun realizes that he's doing well, for Logan all of that is basic instruction, and he underestimates him because of his level. Caroline receives Logan's boost and manages to cut down a goblin, but on the other hand, Sophia becomes paralyzed. Logan wonders what she's doing, recalling that not long ago she was attacked by orcs and imagining that she might still be traumatized. But above all, he wonders why Orhun doesn't seem like he's going to help her. Seeing the orc approaching, Logan decides to go over there. But at that moment, Orhun uses his support magic to slow down the orc. Having done that, he approaches Sophia to reassure her. He assures her that everything will be fine, since she has her companions by her side, and him as well. This makes the little redhead feel safer. Focusing, she manages to conjure a spear of fire with which she incinerates the orc. Everyone is impressed by that magic. Orhun points out the fact that the redhead can use advanced level magic. Caroline congratulates her. Likewise, the protagonist does too. Logan, for his part, keeps thinking about what just happened. Confused, he wonders who the hell Orhun is. And he also questions whether he was really expelled from the heroes group for lack of skill. After quite some time, we see the group reach the 35th floor. There, they come across a death tarantula. Logan doubts he can defeat it with his current power. However, Orhun starts giving instructions. He orders Logan to increase Caroline's agility and endurance, as well as to strengthen Sophia's magic. Logan is surprised to see that he keeps giving orders as if nothing had happened. But just as he was about to cast his support magic on Caroline, she runs off. Logan tries to go after her, but Orhun stops him. He reminds Logan that if he goes to the front line, he'll be exposed. Addressing Caroline, he signals for her to jump over the monster and attack it from behind. The orange-haired girl obeys, plunges her daggers in, and, running along them, slashes the creature's entire body, finishing the attack with great flair as she lands. With that done, Orhun orders her to keep drawing the monster's attention from that spot. He warns her to be careful, since it's a poisonous spider. Logan strengthens her once again. So, we see Caroline dodging and fending off the attacks. Now, Orhun asks Logan to take care of Caroline's mobility. Next, he orders Sophia to immobilize the monster. The redhead casts cutting wind magic and sends blades of air that sever the tarantula's legs. Caroline already starts to celebrate, but Orhun orders Logan to immediately boost her strength, as well as her technique. Logan asks why, but Orhun says it's already too late, so he should just do it right away. At that very moment, the monster traps Caroline with its web. Orhun shouts for her to cut the web with her daggers, but the orange-haired girl can't do it. Then, Orhun tells Logan to use another enhancer on Sophia while the redhead prepares an offensive spell, a rock arrow. Seeing that, for now, the boy can only maintain 3 spells at the same time, Orhun decides to help discreetly, strengthening the edge of Caroline's daggers. This way, she manages to free herself and together with Sophia's magic, they finally defeat the tarantula. The girls celebrate. Orhun congratulates them, but Logan can't help thinking about the true strength our protagonist is hiding. In the afternoon, Selma appears to give a speech before the last day of exploration. She orders all the young people to rest well and return in perfect condition. Meanwhile, Orhun was heading home. The other group leaders ask for a moment with him, mentioning that they are going to eat together and would like him to join them. Orhun is surprised by this because even though everyone knows the news, they still invite him. Even so, he accepts and ends up being taken along as they chat on the way. Meanwhile, in the carriages with the most promising newcomers, Logan asks Sophia if it's true that Orhun saved her a few days ago. She confirms it. Logan then asks if he was alone, and Sophia replies again that he was. So, Logan asks her to share more details about everything he did at that moment, asking about the spells he used and his fighting style. Sophia mentions that he used an incredible spell, something like a wind shockwave. Besides that, he used support magic to reinforce his sword, or at least that's how she remembers it. Logan recognizes this as thread enhancement, a support spell applied to weapons instead of people, the same one he used on Caroline's daggers to help her break free from the web. At that moment, Caroline admits she's surprised, since she clearly felt that her daggers suddenly started cutting much better. Logan asks Sophia again if Orhun was wielding a sword when he saved her. She confirms, adding that he was slicing through the orcs one after another. Logan is impressed that Orhun can fight with a sword and use support magic at the same time. Sophia comments that she doesn't know all the details, but Orhun said that after leaving the heroes, he changed his role from attacker to vanguard. This confuses Logan, since today Orhun did a perfect job as an enchanter, reminding him of how he used his support magic and gave clear orders to Sophia, Caroline, and himself. Logan admits that he misjudged him that morning. He had been disappointed to learn that Orhun didn't leave the heroes group voluntarily, but was expelled. That made him feel betrayed, and that's why he was furious. However, during the fight against the orcs, Orhun secretly reduced the agility of one of them. This is a weakening spell, a debuff that reduces the opponent's power. Logan remembers hearing that not even the great Selma usually uses this kind of spell, since they're hard to cast, but Orhun seemed to handle it with complete ease. It was during the battle against the Death Tarantula, on the 35th floor, that he finally understood the importance of formations. If the defender manages to draw the enemy's attention, the attacker and the support can calmly prepare their next move. This is the ideal way to think. But what surprised him most was that Orhun could calculate exactly when his companion's support magic would run out. He even predicted the Death Tarantula's final attack. Orhun anticipated what could happen in the battle. Thus, Logan realizes that there is a huge difference between him and Orhun. Even so, this doesn't answer the question he carries. Why did Orhun change his role from frontline attacker? Meanwhile, Orhun is with his companions, enjoying the delicious food that was brought to them. They tell Orhun that today's meal is on them and that he can order whatever he wants. At that moment, Berna asks if he attended many parties when he was in the heroes group. Orhun replies that he didn't, since he also did administrative work and hardly had time to have fun with them. The guys regret that he had to go through that and even consider it cruel that they wrote that article about him, suggesting that it's best to just forget about it. Then, changing the subject, they ask if he wasn't charming in the heroes group, since when they met him, he said he was a vanguard attacker. Orhun clarifies that, at the moment, he's a swordsman, as he changed roles when he left the group. Curious, they ask why. Orhun then reveals that at first he was a swordsman in the heroes group because being a swordsman had always been his biggest dream. One of them asks if that was because of his parents or if any of them were also swordsmen. Orhun replies that it was because of his grandfather. A long time ago, a monster appeared in his village, and his grandfather, a former explorer, defeated it with a single sword. That fascinated him deeply and made him decide to become a swordsman. Knowing this, they ask why he became an enchanter if he wanted so much to be a swordsman. Orhun reveals that it all started when they reached the lower floors. The pace of conquest plummeted, and although it was normal since the monsters were much stronger, at the time they didn't understand that. To advance more quickly, they started observing the enchanters who were gaining fame, and since Orhun was skilled at everything, the choice ended up falling on him. The boys understand that this was for the good of the team, after all. That's how they managed to reach the 94th floor. Orhun, however, replies that it wasn't like that at all. What they really should have done was become stronger, instead of rushing to advance. They ask what he means by that. Orhun avoids answering and changes the subject, but in his thoughts, he comments that because of this, their chances of going beyond the 94th floor are practically zero. Next, we return to the girls. While bathing, Sophia comments that there's only one day left to finish the exploration. Caroline suggests that she should properly say goodbye to Orhun, but that makes her a bit down. She says she wishes he would stay with them. In response, Caroline suggests that she should just ask him, assuring her that he'll definitely agree if it's her who asks. Sophia hesitates for a moment, but in the end, she makes her decision. The next morning, we see all the adventurers gathered at the entrance of the dungeon. At that moment, the famous group of heroes appears, heading toward the inside of the same dungeon. Yes, folks, this is where things get good. But if you've made it this far and want the next part, comment the word "encounter" to show you made it to the end.